Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Phantom Blaster Dragon Shadow Paladin standard deck profile for post Phantom Dragon Aeon, being the newest set for the Cardfight Vanguard standard series, and also the main deck I wanted to build from the newest set. I figured I'd bring you all an update to the deck. I've tried a bunch of different Shadow Paladin Blaster variants over the time of standard format. I had the original Phantom Blaster Dragon with the Dark Dictator for added support. I tried out Gust Blaster, Mordred. None of them really were to my playstyle, but going back to the Phantom Blaster Dragon, which out of all of them was probably the one I had the most fun with, I'm glad we finally got Phantom Blaster Overlord for the standard format. It's a really, really awesome card that adds a ton of power to the deck, and just a bunch of other Shadow Paladin support we received from the latest booster pack as well, so I figured an update was definitely due for the deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for our grade 3 units that we run in the deck, I run the 4 original Phantom Blaster Dragon. Sadly, still missing one of the SVR copies. I just need one more for a complete set. But with this card, on your Vanguard circle, you counterblast 1, retire 3 rear guards. If your opponent chooses 3 of his or her units and retires them, and then this unit gets plus 15,000 power and additional critical until end of turn. And on Vanguard circle, once per turn, if your opponent has 4 or less cards in his or her damage zone, and also no rear guards, you can Soul Blast 1, grade 3, and deal damage to your opponent's Vanguard. So you have that option to just, inflict more damage to your opponent early game. It's great for that setup since we have the new Superior Ride grade 1 to, get grade 3s in our soul quickly, whether you'll ride Phantom Blaster Overlord or another copy of Phantom Blaster Dragon over itself again to have that grade 3 in soul. Even just the retire power in total can really dwindle away your opponent's resources depending on what type of deck you're going up against. So you definitely want to run 4 of this card. It's more of the backup grade 3 in this deck, with Phantom Blaster Overlord taking the main spot as the powerhouse grade 3 for all of our plays, but still having this card as its available option for the first ride. Even if you don't use the deal damage, being able to retire your own rear guards and then take care of your opponents, because we have plenty of ways to give us draw power and additional rear guards to call out, is a great way to make use of all of our resources to take care of our opponent's cards. And as for our main go-to card, ideally I do want to run the 4 Phantom Blaster Overlord, with this card being your main boss monster on Vanguard Circle. During your turn, if you have a Phantom Blaster Dragon in your soul, this unit gets plus 10,000 power and its original critical becomes 2. A true massive power plus there, as long as you have your Phantom Blaster Dragon in the soul. So it's basically the new cross ride for standard format for Shadow Paladin Phantom Blaster Dragon. And on Vanguard Circle, when it attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1, retire any number of rear guards. Your opponent chooses the same number of his or her rear guards as the number of rear guards you retired for this cost, and retires them. And then you search your deck for up to 1 card with Blaster in its card name and call it to rear and shuffle your deck. And then the called unit gets plus 10,000 until end of turn. So at least having Phantom Blaster Dragon in your soul will always have it set up for that pressure, critical, and power. I usually like to go back and forth between the force markers I use in this deck, but that additional power, pressure, and being able to use Force 2 for our rear guards, along with the additional 10,000 power that these cards are already receiving, just makes for immense pressure with this deck, because then you can focus on the imaginary gift Force 2 on your rear guard, hitting for those multiple criticals against your opponent, and then also have the retire power, taking away your opponent's interceptors or just more units that they would have needed. So depending on what ride target you have, you're always taking out different rear guards for your opponent. And that's it for the grade 3s. We'll now move on to the grade 2s. Your main go-to grade 2 is Blaster Dark. A real strong powerhouse for the grade 2 lineup for your ride target on Vanguard or rear. When placed, counterblast 1, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. This card's always been my main go-to card. A lot of different units have changed throughout the deck for the Phantom Blaster or just Shadow Paladin Blaster deck. So being able to always have Blaster Dark as the option shows that it was definitely Suzugamori Ren's main go-to unit, no matter what grade 3s he had available to him. But being able to have your opponent choose one of his or her rear guards is early game retire power, but the main pressure you have with Blaster Dark is its Vanguard once per turn. If your opponent has no rear guards, discard a card from your hand, and it gets drive +1 till end of turn. So normally early game, unless your opponent's just definitely trying to rush you because they know the playstyle of Blaster Dark, they can, not have too many rear guards, maybe 1 or 2 set up that you can easily retire with Blaster Dark, and then take care of if you have additional ones on the field to call out, and then get that twin drive early game. It's the cost of a discard, but being able to have the benefit of a drive check just for discarding 1, and then making up for the unit you discarded is definitely worth it in the long run. And then also for the grade 2s, I've been going back and forth with some of the grade 2 numbers, whether Darkness Maiden Maka, but I've also been testing out the new Drag Wizard Leofall. With this one on Vanguard or Rear, one place, Counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1, grade 1, call it to an open rear guard, and shuffle your deck. It's just an easy counterblast, searching for a grade 1. Luar does focus on a heavy number of the different grade 1 numbers we run in the deck, but this deck also just has plenty of options for the grade 1 search, so you definitely want them, especially to search out your Freezing Witch Bendy, which is a very important card, which we'll get to when we go over the grade 1 lineup. So being able to rely on Drag Wizard Leofall for that search power, whether it be on Vanguard or Rear Guard, gives us another additional ride target along with Blaster Dark for all that consistency for more and more rear guards to call out, also to be fodder for Phantom Blaster Overlord or Phantom Blaster Dragon. I have for the additional unit, if you don't have Leofall, you can try running out your Knight of Entrancement Khalit on rear or guard circle. If Blaster Dark is on your Vanguard or rear, this unit gets plus 10,000 power and plus 10,000 shield. So just a good backup power unit to call out to the field and have immense pressure and good guard against your opponent, depending on what deck you're going up against. And then to finish off the grade 2s, I also run 3 Dump Hood Dragon with this one. If you have a Vanguard with Blaster and its card name, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. And also on Rear Guard, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit. Search your deck for up to 1 Blaster Dark, reveal it, put it into your hand, and retire, and then shuffle your deck. You don't retire this unit because you already retired this unit. But with the Soul Blast power, it doesn't use up any of your counter blasts, which you can save for Blaster Dark. So if you need the multiple copies to, let's say, retire 2 of your opponent's Rear Guards, you can get the Twin Drive of Blaster Dark. This card definitely does come in handy, and the fact that it is plus 5,000 power means it'll even work with our Skull Witch Nemain, which we'll all go over this when we get to the grade 1 units. But this is your search power for your Blaster Dark, being all the better as well. And some early game plays we can use involving Skull Witch Nemain as well. I thought about bumping this card up to 4, but Leofall is just a much better search power target to get for more important units, which can then search out Dump Hood Dragon also. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. Ideally, I do want to run 4 Freezing Witch Bendy, a very, very important card in the deck to set up Phantom Blaster Overlord that much more quickly. On Rear Guard, if your Vanguard is Blaster Dark, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, search your deck for up to 1 Phantom Blaster Dragon, ride at a stand, shuffle your deck, and that placed unit cannot use its act abilities until end of turn, which are all of its abilities. It's just basically a superior ride, which if you have your opponent using a good amount of different rear guards, and let's say you can't retire them with Blaster Dark, superior calling Phantom Blaster Dragon with Bendy might be the next best thing, because Phantom Blaster Dragon will have Twin Drive to begin with, and you won't have to rely on retiring your opponent's rear guards or using up counterblast resources, which you can save later on for Phantom Blaster Overlord. And it's that much easier to search this card because it's got plus 5,000 power, making it another search target for our Skull Witch Nemain as well. Speaking of which, a very important card. This is a powerhouse that also got hit with the Luar deck, being Skull Witch Nemain, which we're running 4 of on the rearguard circle. Rest this unit, search your deck for up to 1 plus 5,000 power card, call it to an open rearguard, and shuffle your deck. This ability may not be used by a card with the same name only once a turn, so you can't use another Nemain after you use this card. But we have so many different 5,000 units, which will mainly be fodder for the sacrifice to Phantom Blaster Dragon or Phantom Blaster Overlord, but Nemain can set up also grade 2s now. It doesn't limit for the grade you call out, just the power that is. So we're also able to search out our Dump Hood Dragon early game if you have a grade 1 Vanguard. So opening up Nemain early on, as long as you have the grade 1 ride target, being able to call this card almost guarantees that you'll have your Blaster Dark search as well for your ride target to set up then for Bendy. And then I also want to run the 4 Abyssal Owl. With this, if your opponent's Vanguard has the same grade as your own, and this cost may be paid with a Soul Blast 1, but when placed, Counterblast 1, draw a card. It's just draw power. It's another 5,000 power also, which can be called off of Skull Witch Nemain, making this one of the most important cards in the deck. But having that option available to you for just more and more draw power means that these cards can be sacrificed for your rearguard retire, and then having the option to go into these cards later on also for that search. I have 2 of the Inflexible Arrow Morta, so if you don't have the Abyssal Owls and you can run this as a substitute, be another plus 5,000 power card that works around Blaster Dark altogether. And to finish off the grade 1s, sticking to the 5,000 power. I also run the 2 Blackwing Swordbreaker on rearguard when placed, counter +1 to draw a card. If this unit was placed from hand, it gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. It's just another draw power card. I've thought of maybe putting Bronwyn, the grade 3 Searcher, as the spot for this option. That's player preference. I like having the different options for the plus 5,000 power for the deck. If I go through all the Abyssal Wows, I can still have the Swordbreaker for that search power, and usually you should rely on your Bendy for your superior ride into Phantom Blaster Dragon, and then have the option to cross ride into your Phantom Blaster Overlord. If you want to run Bronwyn, this can be the card you take out for that spot, but once again, player preference at that point. And then for the grade 0s, still sticking to full bow, it's always been the starter for Phantom Blaster Dragon, so you definitely need to use it. Got the updated text as well. When wrote upon, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 1 or greater, you put a quick shield from your outside of your deck into your hand for draw power, and then also that additional quick shield unit will definitely come in handy late game, or just if your opponent tries to rush you and you need to play defensively. For the trigger lineup, I run the 4 Darkside Trumpeteer and the 4 Grim Revenger, still liking the 8 critical. For the lineup, you do need a little bit of draw power with the Sentinel, and it's also my preferred Sentinel to go to, since you can go against some pretty powerhouse decks. I don't really like Belial in this deck. You should have the resources to discard for Dark Shield Maclear. That's why I like to run 4 of this in the deck. And lastly, for the heal trigger, I run the 4 Abyss Healer. Once again, preference. I feel the new heal trigger for Shadow Paladin is more fitting in the Luar deck, while Abyss Healer being its rightful spot in the Phantom Blaster Dragon deck. But as for the go-to play, if your ride target is one of your many grade 1s we run in the deck, which the majority of them are the 5,000 power, so usually you will have that issue with your grade 1s. But remember, if you have your Skull Witch Nemain on rearguard and whichever grade 1 you have on your Vanguard, you can ride your Vanguard over top of your full bow. So you'll have this play, getting your draw power. Then if you call Nemain to the rearguard, you can then rest this card, search your deck for a 5,000 power, which it is a superior call, so you can call the grade 2 Dump Hood Dragon to the field, soul blasting the 1 and retiring this unit, giving you the search you need if you don't have Blaster Dark already in your hand to ride next turn as well. And then if you have the Leafall, or the option again to search with Skull Witch Nemain to search for your Freezing Witch Bendy, you should almost always have the option to then superior ride into your Phantom Blaster Dragon, setting up your Phantom Blaster Overlord play. Nemain, like I said, is a very important card for the play, so opening up her is very vital for sure. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. I'll definitely be updating a bunch of other decks from the Phantom Dragon Aeon set, so look forward to that. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.